I'm good at what I do as a guide runner. And once I embraced guiding, everything else became easy. All these doors started opening up for me. I was ashamed at first to say, yeah, I'm a guide runner, because my goal was to be an individual athlete and make the Olympic team for myself. I thought at one point that I just took a detour and I came back on and still was involved into the sport. I never took a detour in the sport. I was always on the right path. I just didn't know it yet. God knew it, but I just didn't know it yet. You know, I was always on the right path. I was always on the right road. I was always on the right freeway. All I did was switch lanes and keep going. That's it.
Hello, everybody. This is Spark the Brain Pod. This is Kofi, your host. We have Shanae, our videographer. This will be her first time on camera. And we have the great Jerome Avery. Shanae is going to actually speak on his accomplishments first before we dive into this.
All right, let's get into it. First of all, I'm very excited to have you on here. Very, very excited. Since the Paralympics is going on right now, how fitting is it to have someone like you on our platform right now? So, woo, let's get into it. Starting with your competitive history. 3-time Paralympic medalist guide runner with 3 different Paralympians, 2 gold, 1 silver. Rio 2016 gold 100 meter. We got Beijing 2008 gold 100 meter. Athens 2004. That's silver long jump. World champion 2017 gold 100 meter, silver 200 meter. World Championship 2015, gold for 100 meter, and World Champion 2013, silver 4 times, 100 meter relay, and World Champion 2006, gold, 100 meter, silver, long jump. That's a lot of accomplishments.
Sound better than I feel like I did.
That's it.
If you had to choose your favorite, which one would it be? Like, if it was like one you just have to choose.
My favorite games?
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say Rio. And there's the reason for Rio is because in 2012, that's when they started allowing guide runners to receive medals. Mind you, the Paralympic movement has been going on since 1950s, I want to say. Could be a little bit wrong, but it's been going on for a long time. But they didn't start awarding guide runners medals until 2012 in track and field of the Paralympics. So that was actually my first official medal that I received. And when I tell you, that was a good feeling to receive a medal alongside of someone that I was competing with. It was a great feeling. You know, it's been a long journey, and, you know, it was nice to be awarded and to feel like you were a part of the movement of the Paralympics.
Yeah. And how does that work? Like, how do you like apply for that, or there's like a tryout or so to be like a guide?
You know, I actually fell into the sport. I was a Olympic hopeful in my own rights. 2004 was a time that I qualified for the Olympics in Athens. Came up short, but a good friend that I was training with here in San Diego was a Paralympian, and he said, "Hey, man, you know, since you're not going to Athens as a individual athlete, do you want to go as a guide runner?" So, you know, the first thing I thought about was like, Athens, Greece? That don't sound too bad of a place to be.
Yeah.
So, you know, I fell into it. I jumped in it, and the rest has pretty much been history. I just fell into the sport and created my own path, and I've gotten better through the years as a guide runner, and I adapted, and I found the weaknesses of what it would take to be a great guide runner, and here we are.
Yeah.
So there's really no set path, but now, because of, you know, the opportunities that were presented, you know, as a guide runner, a lot of the either post-collegiate athletes or former Olympians that are retiring now have reached out to me and said, "Hey, how do I become a guide runner?" And that's an amazing feeling.
And I noticed when you were running, I think his name is David, correct, right? When y'all were running, I want to know, what exactly were you telling him? Were you next to him? And was it like you have to like tap his arm so he feels you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so the way that it works, for those that don't know, in the 100 meters, I run alongside of the athlete, and we're connected by the finger. Perfect example. It's almost like a three-legged race, but you are connected by the index and a pointer finger. And when we're running, our cadence have to match exact. Like I said, we're allowed 2 lanes. So he can't step on the outside lane and I can't step on the outside lane. So that middle line doesn't matter. It's one big space.
Yeah.
So while we're running, I come out the starting blocks alongside of him, cadence match exact, and I have to actually stay right beside him. I can't go too far in the front, too far in the back, or that's a disqualification. Also, if I cross the finish line before him, that's another disqualification. So a lot of those things take, you got to think about while you're running. So as soon as we get close to the finish line, I veer back a little bit and allow him to cross the race. Like I tell people, it's still not my race to win. He has to win the race, So that's how we pretty much run the 100 meters. So it depends on the environment where we're at. If the race is going, if we're going crazy and I'm feeling good, I say different things from the beginning of the race. Drive. There you go. Come on now. You got to pick it up now. You're at the 20-meter mark. Come on, let's go. 50, 90 meters, 5, lean.
Yeah.
I'll say different things. There's other races where you'll hear me saying, go, David, let's go. Come on, pick it up. Go. You got this. It all depends on the energy, but I want to let him know that he's got it. I'm pretty much that voice. It's almost like you're going to the gym. You have your trainer there that's saying, come on now, you got this. Give me one more. And if you have that motivation and that extra, you ready to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I have a question, if you don't mind. So it's interesting how you're encouraging, but yet you're still an athlete yourself. So you talking and running, how are you able to still encourage him and still be able to run the race? Because that takes a lot of energy too, the talking, that's a lot of breath. You know what I'm saying? So how are you able to keep going and encouraged for you guys to be able to finish?
Right. Well, as a guide runner, you first and foremost, you have to be faster than the athletes you run with. Not only that, we train full time together throughout the years. So after I'm done with his workout, I'll have to do my own individual workout at a higher tempo, because I need to be in the best condition and the best shape. Because there's been races where he may react faster, but because of my speed, I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. And don't hinder him or slow him up. So with that being said, my training has to be on point. I have to make sure, I'm ready to go at all times. So my speed definitely has to be much faster than his speed while we're running.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
Pretty cool. And I actually want to ask you, so for the Olympics, how does somebody qualify for it? And I know for me, it was frustrating. Like when I did track, I enjoyed track, but it was like, we're here all day. I got 1 race or 2 races, but you're training pretty much like for 4 years for something. How is that process?
It's a pretty interesting process. So for the Olympic side, usually you'll see it. You place top 3, you're automatically going. Now on the Paralympic side, because there's so many different classifications, and what I mean by classifications is that you have leg amputees, single leg amputees, double leg amputees, vision impairment. You have dwarfs that are competing. You have wheelchair racers. So there's so many different classifications that in the Paralympic world of our trials, you have to hit a certain standard in order, or a certain time, I should say, in order to go on to the games. So you can actually win the competition or place top 3. But if you don't have that certain world standard time, you don't go on. And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why I'm not over there in Paris as of today. We just didn't hit that certain world standard time in order to go on to the games. And unfortunately, that's just a part of the game. That's part of life. And as you know, as an athlete, you win some, you lose some.
And oh, Shanae, you got a question or?
No, actually, I was going to go more toward personality traits. What do you need? What boxes do you need to check within yourself for you to know that, yeah, I can be able to be a guide for somebody else? Because it's a lot of people like yourself. You was aspiring to be an Olympian, but that also deals with your personality of you as an individual trying to be the best, do it for yourself. Now, what is it that made you take the back seat to take, because in some cases there's ego, there's, selfish ambition. What made you take the back seat? What drove you to do that? Because in order for you to be a guide, that's selflessness. Now you're no longer the athlete, you're the
Yeah.
guide.
Yeah. I think it was basically when I came up short at the Olympic trials myself. I understood that this was my best chance and my best shot of making the team. And as we get older, we just get slower. I hate to say it, but we get slower. And, I could have still qualified for the Olympics, but I knew after 2004, I wasn't going to be a medalist, or my best shot, like I said, was in 2004. So when I didn't make it and I was able to go on as a guide runner for the first Paralympic Games, put someone on that podium, I think that's when, I saw the smile on his face, the excitement of what I was a part of and what I was doing. That's when my mantra, success through selflessness, came alive. That's when that mantra of me having to understand that it's not about me, but I can still be involved in the sport, just in a different light. And, like I said, through the years, I created so many amazing opportunities. 2004, put somebody on as a silver medal. 2008, I was able to get somebody on as a gold medalist. And then that's when I retired and left the sport, until they said guide runners are going to be able to get medals. And then that's when I got excited and was like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to get a gold medal. So when you talk about checking your ego, I came back into the sport thinking more about myself. So guess what happened in 2012? No medal. I put myself first. I forgot the importance of guide running and my role. So then after that, the next person I was paired up was in 2014 was David Brown. That's when I knew, okay, what do I need to do to get you across the finish line? What do we have to do? We developed that relationship, and I fully embraced my role as a guide runner. And with that came positive and great results in 2016. And that was a gold medal. We received a gold medal, not me. We received a gold medal.
And what messages do you hope to convey to others, especially young people with disabilities trying to participate in sports?
Yeah. Embrace change, and use your individual experiences. Like I said, I came from, pursuing a dream of being an Olympian. If you would have asked me when I was younger, I never thought that I was going to be a guide runner. I didn't even know what guide running was until I fell into the sport, but I embraced the change. I embraced the mistakes, and I made better. And the goal became gold.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at. So embrace change. Don't be afraid. Use your experiences of what you've done and carry it over, because we've all had those experiences, whether or not if it was in that job title or whatever you do, you just bring that to the next forefront and you'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah. And when did you start running track, and when did you know this is me? I fell in love with it. You don't even got to tell me to go work out. I'm just work out. What time?
Well, I graduated high school weighing 110 pounds soaking wet. So football, baseball, and then these other sports was out of the picture. Mind you, my father was a track coach. So it was a no-brainer. Track was in my DNA. He ran track too. So earlier on, I've always ran track. And then the first time that I actually qualified was my freshman year and for the Olympic trials. So earlier on, I knew that this is where I was at. I grew up in Lemoore, California. And for those that aren't familiar, if you're familiar with Tommy Smith, 1968, I hope I didn't get that wrong, but the Mexico City Games, he held up the fist. So if you're ever famous for that school, so we went to the same high school. So growing up, seeing his journey of him, his family, I was able to break his high school record, So just that's when I knew there's something there. I'm on the right path of being successful in the sport. And here we are. And a fun fact, 2016, after every Olympic and Paralympic Games, we get to go to the White House to visit the president.
Oh, wow.
His journey was obviously during the civil rights movement. So he was kind of blackballed and he wasn't able to go to the White House to meet the president.
Wow.
But we were able to have Barack Obama, who invited him in to 2016 to the White House. And it just so happens there was another Lamore alumni that was there. He knew my family. I knew his family. We came, we took some amazing pictures together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just one of those things that was very memorable. And that was an amazing journey. Great guy, great storyline. And yeah, that was that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What does a typical day of like training look like for you? Because I remember when I was in college, my coach wouldn't let us get water. And he was like, no water until like we're fully done. And I'm like, that's crazy. But it helped me a lot.
Huh?
So yeah, what was it for you like?
Yeah, well, water is definitely important for me. Me being a sprinter, I
Yeah.
get dehydrated very quickly, and rest and recovery is very important for sprinters. So we constantly practice Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Our Wednesdays are a rest and recovery day, as we'd say. So it's not relaxing and sitting on your butt. You definitely have to do something like ride a bike, be active. So constantly every day training. And I train with my training partner every single day too, as well.
Oh, wow.
So we go from the track for about like an hour, 2 hours, leave from that, a little break, and then we'll go to the gym where we'll do a gym workout. So he has his own strength trainer that focuses with him. And I have the same strength trainer, but that part I can actually focus on myself a little bit. Because you with somebody full time every single day, you guys need a break from each other. And that's just a part of a partnership or even in a relationship. You kind of find some space and then come back together and get it right. I mean, there's been times where we're on the track. You get frustrated being with somebody forever.
Mhm.
So, we get frustrated. We talk our talk and everything, but we know at the end of the day, the goal is always going to be gold. So whatever is said on the track that day, we ended off with man, good workout, man. Love you. Let's keep it going. Come back to the next day, fresh and ready to hit it again.
And the money aspect, because I know everybody's like, well, if I run track, do I get paid? I want to ask because I see Usain Bolt. He's
Yeah.
very rich in a way, and I don't know if it's mainly just endorsements or when he wins gold, it's like a bonus amount. But yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, so I mean, you get a little bit of bonuses, of course, for sponsorship obligations, for sponsorships, and for your medal as well. So that's always a good thing. And the cool thing about my role and what I've done in my role is that I was able to make sure that earlier on, once again, my focus was the athlete. But when I started seeing people were paying attention to the guide running part and started seeing that the guide runner's role was just important, that's when my voice became more out there and aware to the world of guide runners. So I used my platform to show the awareness. Through using my platform became sponsorship obligations. So thank goodness for Team Toyota being one of my big sponsors. That helps out a lot for me to continue to do this full time. Not only them on running, which is a big sponsor too, and you see them everywhere now. On running, USANA. So all of these big sponsors that supplements you, all of these sponsors have helped me, but it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the athletes that I was paired up with. So not all guide runners get this treatment, and I'm thankful to be in my position because I want to say honestly, I believe that I'm the only guide runner in the world that can do this full time and benefit from it. And through that also the speaking engagements, the team building activities with corporate groups. I'm able to go into the office and help be a part of something else because, like I said, life experiences and my journeys, I was able to bring into something else. When we go to these team building activities, it's almost different platforms, but the same thing. You need to have a partnership. The communication has to be very important.
Mm-hmm.
And the trust has to be very important. So we go to these groups,
Yeah.
we put the blinders on each individual. The other coworker is the guide. So you have to delegate your responsibilities right then and there. You have to find different cues to be successful in different ways. And as you know, when you're working with someone, the other person that you're working with could be totally different. So finding those different cues, finding their strengths and working those strengths and finding those weaknesses and turning them into strengths are very important as well.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned sponsors. I want to ask for like somebody, like I guess advice, because some people in like basketball, I like to use as an example. They're like, I got a debate between Jordan and Nike. Nike will give me my own shoes. Like for you with sponsors, what is something that's like appealing and what is something people should look out for?
Yeah, there's a lot of sponsors that want to sign you very quickly, but I look for, me personally, longevity. I would rather stay with the same company and see how I can grow with that company. I personally feel as an athlete, when they come to you, you have value. So put yourself in a position to be a part of that company long term. And you'll see, even those great years, they'll support you, but also for those years that aren't so great, they'll still be there and have your back. So that's what I look for, longevity. You just can't look for that short, quick burst. But if you got it like that, and if that money's like that, so be it. Me, once again, I look for that longevity and that great quality of a company that wants to, see you grow.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Let me think. Hmm. What motivated you to start like your journey in sports? I know you mentioned your dad was a track coach. I want to ask you, what was that like? Because my parents didn't do sports. And I watched like movies like He Got Game, and the dad's like, wake up, let's do this, let's do that. And they was like, I hate my dad. He got me doing all this stuff. How was it for you with your dad? Like, did that interfere with your relationship as son and dad? Or was it like, we on the track, I'm not your dad, I'm your coach?
Yeah. I think it hit that phase at one point where, you get burnt out. I've been running track all my life since I was in the first grade. So through school track and through summer track, the summer track portion was with my father. So I always was on the track. So there was a high school freshman year where I got burnt out for a little bit. But once again, I think once I went to college, I saw how invested he was in seeing me be successful and how proud he was. I didn't recognize that earlier on. I lost my father in 2013. So, a lot of these things that I truly value now, but I was thankful enough to recognize that while he was here. I saw how proud he was. My son is doing it. Even when I made that transition from being an individual athlete to pursuing my career as a Olympic hopeful to a guide runner. He didn't even know what a guide runner is, but he saw how passionate I was. He saw what I was doing with it and the success that I was bringing from my platform. And he was like, this is awesome. Continue to do it. Let's do this. No, you got this. Continue to work on this. So his feedback was very important. Not only that, my mother's feedback was very important too as well. I was blessed enough to have some amazing parents that truly supported me on and off the track, told all their friends of what I did and my journeys, and loved to share my vision. And with that, it just drove me and pushed me in the right direction. So I'm thankful for that tough love that I had earlier on with my father as the track coach. And I use it now to inspire and motivate. Even the things that I think about what he said earlier on, what got you there will keep you there. That's a big part of me. That's a big part of what I do. Quick story, 2004, I made it out the first round, made it out the second round. I came back to the practice track and I was warming up just as hard, and I didn't have to. I was already prepared. It took my father, who was sitting in the podium or sitting in the stands, to find his way back to the track without any credentials and say, "You're prepared. You're ready to go. Chill out. You don't need to warm up anymore." But as soon as I got to the track, I was already burnt out and tired because this was unfamiliar territory. But once again, what I like to say is that he was a big part of my success and continue to be, even though he's not here.
And for like young athletes that's like, yeah, I want to start track. Like I started 11th grade when I moved to Florida, but people that's even younger, I want to know like advice you have for them um regarding like the work to put into it and like things to look out for, like even burnout. Some people are like, what's burnout? Like I just run, and it's like, no, you can burn out early.
Yeah,
Um,
you definitely can. If you get into this sport, you're gonna have to be you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. The clubbing, the drinking,
yeah.
all of that as a collegiate or at that next level, you have to make some sacrifices and understand that this isn't an easy sport. That training, that rest, that diet is very important in order to get your body fully invested in and ready. So that's number one, first and foremost. So that training is very important. And I feel like I know a lot of people that started at a later part of their life, which is great too, because that burnout may not come so early. By the time you get to that point, it might be a point of time where you're already ready to retire and you fulfilled your journey and the things that you want to do. So I think it's based on you and your personality. But if you have that mindset and that goal, and you are constantly pushing yourself, you're gonna want to go. You're gonna want to keep going until that time is up.
So I have a question for you. Did you grow up amongst people with disabilities? And if you didn't, how are you able to now go into this atmosphere where you're around them all the time? So how did you navigate through that?
Great question. And no, I haven't been around anyone with a disability. Like I usually tell people, my life experiences have put me in the position that I am. My mother, she worked for the state, and my father, he worked for the government and was also a track coach. So helping your fellow humans have always been a part of my upbringing. My father, track coach, summer track coach, would always get kids, bring them in, get the shoes on their feet, help them out in any shape possible. My mother, on the end, she was one of those people that wanted to talk to you, any and everybody. So this is where I grew up. I grew up around parents that always would go out of their way and talk to any and everybody. So, like I tell people, I became my parents, and I think later on, that's when I was able to make that easy decision of jumping into something and not feeling uncomfortable and using it to my advantage. When I first found out I was going to be a guide runner, I went to a huge open field, put the blinder on myself, and I wanted to put myself in their shoes for that short amount of time that I could. And what I've learned is that they were willing to delegate their responsibilities to me. When I ran in a huge open field with the blinder over my face, after 3 steps, the first thing I wanted to do was stop, even though I knew I was in a huge open field, because I didn't trust myself. So when I got into that role, that's when I took that role serious and understanding I had to figure out a way to paint a picture in a way that they can see it. Wow. And that's helped me through the journey. So once again, it was my upbringing. It was the people that I was surrounded around, whether it was my parents, whether it was positive coaching, whether it was teachers, uncles. I found my calling from being around amazing people.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And the Olympics, what is it like being like in that space around so many athletes and the whole ceremony and everything? What is that like? Because I see it on TV, just
Yeah,
like,
no, great experience. So unfortunately, I didn't go at the Olympic opening ceremony, but I've been a part of many Paralympic ceremonies and great experience. Walking through, representing your country, understanding that everyone in the world right now is united, even though we're competitors. we're united. You know, we're supporting each other. We're comrades, and it's an amazing feeling. You know, you have so many people with different walks of life. You know, seeing them smile and coming from different obstacles, different backgrounds, and it's unbelievable. And not only that, to get on that podium is another thing. To hear the national anthem, you know, you sit there and you hear it on other people when they get on the podium, and you never know, you know, you're singing it on the side, but when you get on that podium, that's a different beast right there. Now you're like, I need to make sure I know these words. That camera's on me, and you're smiling and cheesing and trying to sing the song. But when that time comes, you're ready. You're ready. It just happens.
And I wanted to ask too, so the Olympics more so, or the Paralympics, for you now you're on TV. I wanted to ask because I know people that played in the NBA even, they were like, you know, in practice or when the cameras aren't on, I'm hitting all these shots. Then when the camera's on, I'm like kind of forgetting how to shoot. With running track in that space, does it feel different or even slower in a way than when you're on your own running?
You mean as a guide runner or at practice, or what do you mean exactly
I would
as?
say both. Like even when you competed, did you felt like you know at the top 15, did you feel like that was my fastest at that time? Or
Yeah.
was it like it was some factors that played away in that?
Well, I mean, I knew one thing about guide running, which is amazing. I know that I'm the fastest out there.
Mm.
Nobody could beat me. I just got to make sure the athlete that I'm running with is also fast. So I like to tell him, beat me. Think about racing me. I want you to focus on beating me, and we'll be perfectly fine. But I mean, it's a little nerve wracking when you're at these games. You know, you're at practice. You want to make sure you get it right, but not overdoing yourself and not, you know, putting a lot in the emphasis into the training, because if you're not prepared by then, you're not going to have it. So you just want to make sure you do just as much as you need to do to compete at these competitions, at the major competitions. Now, for me personally, I rise to the occasion, and I want to make sure that the athletes that I'm with get that shine and that light. I knew at one point in time that during that time frame, the VI classifications, it wasn't going to be televised. So what did I have to do on my end in order for it to be classified? I mean, to be, I want to say, on my bad, not classified, but to be shown on TV. That's when I started putting on the hat backwards. I don't know if you see the races that we're in, but all the guide runners have orange vests.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that the athletes stand out. So I put on the hat on backwards. And the hat was pretty much my cape, me feeling comfortable doing what I do, me shouting and yelling. After we cross the finish line, one of the things that I like to tell people is that he can't see you, he can hear you, make some noise. So we're getting the crowd pumped up. And I've learned a lot of this as an athlete from watching the Usain Bolts, the other athletes that came forward, you know, and it's amazing. There's so many talented athletes out there. There's so many amazing athletes, but we only recognize those athletes that are also talented, but also entertainers in the sport. The reason why we recognize Usain, not only because of his amazing speed, because he also knows how to entertain you. He gets you excited to come and watch. So those are the things that I took from him. I took from watching elite athletes in other sports, such as the NBA, football. They know how to entertain you. So getting the crowd pumped up. I wanted you to be excited to come and watch David Brown run, the Lex Gillette's run, or jump that I had the opportunity to compete with. And once again, it's from watching these other elite athletes do it.
Okay. I like that. And is there any like future goals that you want to share, or anything you have coming up that you're like, yeah, I want you to know about this. If you
Right.
want to keep it to yourself, that's fine too.
Oh, no. Currently working on a book, which is awesome. I'm excited about guiding lives, which is, of course, part of my journey. And it's inspirational, trying to motivate people and get people to get right and feel good and it crosses over from my experiences, but also in the work world, partnering, relationships, trusting, and all that. Not only that, I do a lot of team building activities with corporate groups, like I said, speaking engagements coming up. So a lot of this is what's going on. And even though I'm not in Paris, this isn't the end of guide running, for me. So hopefully next year, which is World Championships, we'll be back better, and you'll see some more stuff either on the track or on the runway, me as a caller clapping someone down the runway.
Okay. I like that. And my last question is there any advice that you would tell somebody in the sport not to listen to? Because I know people give certain advice and I know everybody's body is different. Is there any advice that you're like, don't listen to them when they say that to you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say don't listen, but just take it in. Take it in, listen to what they're saying, but your gut always know. Your gut feeling always know. And if you feel that you can do that, do it. I mean, I had people when I got into the sport, they would say, as a guide runner, oh, this is awesome what you're doing, helping someone. This is great. But I knew that this could be something bigger. They were just thinking that this is something, a little phase. And then after that phase of helping someone, that's it. But I saw the bigger picture. I saw that there's greater opportunity in what I'm doing. Even if nobody saw that, I believed in myself. Not everybody is going to see your vision all the way through. They may sit there and be like, oh, that's great, but they're not going to really see your vision all the way through. But if you believe in that, go for it.
Perfect. And thank you for doing the interview with us. Thank you, Sinead, for doing the questions with me today. And yeah, I just want to share that this is our first time doing a Zoom interview.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. And I just want to say you guys are awesome. I truly appreciate you guys so much and looking forward to listening to more of your podcast. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am lost.